it was just one person living there at the time, and it was just filled from basement to attic.
Filled with what? What'd you find?
Oh, let's see. There was a riding lawnmower buried in the living room.
A riding lawnmower. How do you even get a riding lawnmower in the house?
It was a challenge. Pocket doors were helpful. We also found a shotgun wrapped up in an Afghan stuck in a weed whacker box.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association, providing benefits and services to real estate investors and rental property owners for over 48 years. With your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group.
This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com. Hello and welcome to episode 176. My guest today is Chelsea Roelofs. And Chelsea is the owner and broker at Rockfinch Realty, which is an all-service real estate and property management company. 60% of her clients are investors, and Chelsea also owns and operates her own vacation rentals as well as single-family rental properties. And Chelsea and I are talking during a few minutes that we were able to get at the RPOA annual conference. Chelsea, thank you for being here and talking with me, and thanks for getting a booth at the annual conference as well.
Yeah, Brian, thank you so much for having me. It's a great event to be at.
Let's start with you just kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started investing in real estate.
Sure. Well, I graduated in college in 2008 and moved to Grand Rapids after that, and spent a year renting and really looked at the housing market and saw the opportunities and determined that I really didn't like renting and purchased a distressed duplex in Heritage Hill, and that was kind of my...
Is that around 2009?
2009, yeah, January 2009.
So the best time to purchase something in
colder
Heritage Hill.
inside the house than it was outside of the house, but it was an adventure. So my husband and I started rehabbing that property, and from plumbing to boiler systems to learning how to hang weights. I mean, we really dove into the historic preservation aspect and rehabs, and did was house hacking before house hacking was a term that I was familiar with, and so really turned that into kind of my inaugural income property.
So before you even knew you were going to become a real estate investor, you had become a real estate investor.
I did, yep, and I did because I didn't like wasting money. So.
Yeah. So you moved here from where you graduated in 2008.
Yep.
Moved here from Arizona.
Well, I went to college in Michigan.
Okay.
I went to Hillsdale, but I came to Hillsdale from Arizona. So, yep.
Now, what you graduated in, is that what you're doing now?
Well, sort of. I guess that depends on how you look at it. I have a background in sociology. So when I graduated college, I was working in a juvenile delinquent facility and adored my job.
So I'm waiting to know, how does that link up with real estate?
Well, I think it's working, it's an emotional process when you're working with homeowners and home sellers. It gives you skills like anything, a basis for how to relate to people and how to handle stressful situations, customer service.
Give me an example. So you were working, you said, with juvenile offenders or delinquents? Or?
Yep. So a little bit of all of the above. It was a residential treatment facility. So they lived there, and I was actually working in education with them. So
then this is interesting. As a property manager and owner, have you had similar experiences that you had to call upon that time?
Probably to more so as a property manager. Tenants deal with maybe high stress situations or, maybe difficult personalities, and it definitely gave me the skills to de-escalate situations and handle them.
Really? Any examples?
So we've had people that, have maybe been late on rent and they want to be very combative about their reasons or what have you, and being able to bring them down and give them the, work with them, but also give them the ultimatum on what their responsibilities are, but presenting them in a way that keeps them on board and doesn't make them, trash the property and leave and what have you. So there's probably been 8 or 10 situations that fall under that category.
So you know how to be firm and tough.
And the tough love.
Professional, but
right.
Still get what you want.
That's a good way to put it.
So you obviously graduated in 2008 was not the best time to be graduating.
No, it was not.
But buying in 2009 was the best time to buy.
It was.
This duplex you bought, did you realize that you were doing the house hacking thing when you bought the duplex? Did you buy it so that you could get that rental income from the other side?
We did, only because we had lots of friends in the area and ended up having some family actually live with us at the time. So it seemed like a good opportunity, but I didn't look at it like a business adventure. I looked at like, okay, well, this will help. Just like having roommates.
So what were some of the economics in? I mean, if you don't mind, how much did you pay for the duplex?
Yes.
How much did you end up putting into it? And how much were you able to rent out the other side for?
Yeah, so we ended up we bought it for $60,000. The bank had listed it for $100,000 and they took $60,000. We ended up putting in a new boiler, new plumbing, updating some electrical. I think over the years, we probably put in $40,000 to $50,000 into the property. Primarily to keep that number that low, simply because we did a lot of the work ourselves. And not infrequently, our rental ranges for the units were between $850 and like $950, and then after we had moved out, that's about when the rental rates really kind of increased. So we were renting that property out as a whole for just under $2,000 a month.
Wow! And you recently sold it too.
We did, yeah. We had it on the market for a little bit and kind of decided we didn't want to sell, and then we got approached by someone to purchase it, and they offered us kind of the number I tossed at them. So hard to say no. So we ended up selling that one for $265,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a profit over a 10-year period, huh?
It was quite the surprise to me, and not something we ever thought we were going to do, but the numbers were right where they needed to be to make that happen. So.
And that jump-started your real estate career. So where did it take you next? I mean, 2009, you buy this duplex. You and your husband are putting a lot of work into it.
Yeah.
Renting out the other side. What happened next?
So, life happened really after that. So primarily my intentions were always to stay in social work. But, after getting married, we were going to have our first child, and I just really needed a job that provided me more flexibility, that expanded on the skills that I was already using and or good at, or at least thought I was good at, And we ended up taking my real estate license. I took my exam a week after my oldest son was born, and just dove both feet into an actual real estate salesperson's career. But the reason why I even went that direction at all was because I was doing property management, with my properties, because I had picked up another one by that point.
Was that another duplex that you picked up?
It was, yep, another duplex in the hill not far from the one that we had. And then we also had quite a few friends that purchased properties, in 2009, 2010, that they needed help with because they were starting to get jobs out of state, but the cash flow on the properties were so good because they got similar deals that we did. So had been approached to property manage, and upon research realized I really needed to be functioning underneath a licensed broker. So I kind of streamlined my trajectory into becoming a legitimate property manager. So through my, real estate sales career, that was always my goal. I had worked underneath a few other brokers kind of in my direction, but no one to partner with long term to grow that side of the business. So as soon as I could, I took my broker's license and opened Rockfinch.
So was it always designed to be kind of a brokerage and property management company from the start?
Yep.
And the properties that you were managing, it sounds like were friends of yours in the beginning, and that just sort of took off from there?
Yeah, friends of friends, and then, we started becoming word of mouth and became involved in the RPOA and met quite a few people through the RPOA and ended up having a fairly solid network of individuals. And then I had other real estate friends of mine that were salespeople but had no interest in diving into the property management side, but they would still have clients that were interested in being investors but had no connections with property managers. So we've had other clients through other realtor friends come our way. So it just kind of is word of mouth grown quite a bit.
That's great. What's your property management philosophy?
So, we're very tenant oriented, but we're really heavy in communication. We want to have strong attention to detail, but we're very big picture. The way we treat our tenants, they ultimately pay our investors' bills. So we want to make sure that we are caring for everybody, not just, the investors, want the communication, they want their bottom lines, they want the properties to be cared for, and then we, spend a lot of time vetting tenants, keeping them qualified, keeping them paying, and caring for the properties. So we charge a, 5% gross rents and a $250 placement, which, industry is fairly low. We also do quarterly exterior inspections on all of our properties. Quarterly interiors of all of the properties and monthly exteriors, just to make sure that we're maintaining and communicating with the tenants, that they're meeting expectations, but that also we reduce turnaround time, because if there's anything that needs to be done, we don't have to, spend 3 weeks in between tenants doing it. We've been doing it all along.
You're right. Compared to the rest of the industry, your management fee percentage is lower, and even the leasing fee of $250 is lower. How are you able to maintain that? Where are the efficiencies in your business that allow you to do that?
Even though we are a smaller company, we still use some of the largest systems in the industry to help streamline our marketing processes and screening processes, because we still do full background checks, and we still do our own showings, and we still make a point to meet with every tenant that applies and spend quality time getting to know them and prepping them to be successful. But like I said before, it's really a big picture. Our goal is to keep a relationship with the tenants, and very often they end up becoming home buyers. And for us, if they already have a good relationship with us, we've had many tenants purchase homes and then again 3 years later sell homes and buy again, with Rockfinch representing them as their agents. And then, during that process, a lot of tenants are nervous about signing long-term leases, if they're in renewal periods, if their goals are to buy homes. But we're able to help them work with those terms, because they're able to not necessarily break their lease, but if once we have a qualified tenant to replace them, give them a shortened lease term so that they're able to reduce their out-of-pocket costs and have security in whatever their closing time may be, their possession time. And because we're intimately involved in not only their lease but their home purchase, we're able to make sure that we don't lose any rent money for our owners either.
If you are thinking of leaving your W-2 job and becoming a full-time real estate investor, one of the greatest costs you must consider is healthcare for you and your family. When I made this transition 5 years ago, I found the whole healthcare insurance process to be confusing and frustrating. That's why I'm glad I met Chad Creasy at RCB and Associates. Chad is a professional healthcare insurance agent who helps real estate investors and small business owners understand and choose their best healthcare options. And best of all, his services are covered by the insurance company and won't cost you a dime. If you are expecting a change in your healthcare insurance coverage for any reason, or losing employer coverage, or transitioning into Medicare, then you owe it to yourself to contact Chad Creasy at rcbAssociatesLLC.com. Yeah, well, that's really interesting. I like how you put that. You're looking at the big picture. It's not just the management fee that you're charging or the fees that you're charging, but just all of the downstream opportunities you have with your clients and your residents. Yep. To turn them into customers or clients for your brokerage business as well. So it's a great way to...
Goal is to make it as seamless as possible from the management side to the tenants to the owner. So
how did you come to that realization because that's a concept that I've heard from other management companies, but you seem to have put it into practice in a very specific way.
I kind of guess give kudos to some of my background. I do enjoy getting to know the tenants, like who they are, what their goals may be. And I think because we were so involved in our personal rentals, like the location of our rentals led us to become friends with some of our tenants, to get to see them get to, engaged and see like their goals kind of come through. And it just became really natural for me to stay in communication with the tenants like that. And we hold a few different events that, encourage them if that's something that they're thinking about, that we can help them with that. So it just kind of came together naturally as part of, I think, my perspective on the industry.
So it seems like your sociology background has helped you realize that it's really a people business, and that kind of that personal touch and getting to know people has really helped you.
I think so.
Let's talk about your investing a little bit more.
Okay.
So you bought the first duplex, obviously made a killing on that.
Yeah.
The second duplex, when did you buy that, and kind of take us through that process?
Yeah, so our second duplex we bought in 2012. It was We got that one for $57,500. And it was owned by a hoarder. So that was our first experience in wall to ceiling stuff.
Oh, so what kind of, in this hoarder duplex, was both sides owned by the hoarder or just one side?
So it was actually, it was an up and down duplex, and it was kind of a single family home that was converted. So it was just one person living there at the time, and it was just filled from basement to attic.
Filled with what? What'd you find?
Oh, let's see. There was a riding lawnmower buried in the living room.
A riding lawnmower? How do you even get a riding lawnmower in the house?
It was a challenge. Pocket doors were helpful, but it was tight. We also found a shotgun wrapped up in an Afghan stuck in a weed whacker box.
Wow. Was it loaded?
I don't remember. I don't think so, but my husband may disagree with that. I just let him handle
Oh my gosh.
that one. That was exciting. I mean, there was anything from family photos to canned goods to, a whole house full of furniture to clothes. But I think the shotgun and the riding lawnmower really kind of take the cake as far as exciting things that we found in there.
Well, I'd be excited to find a riding lawnmower in a property I just purchased.
I think my father-in-law still has it.
Oh, good. It would still work, huh?
I think so.
He just rode it in there one day and
just
then
cruised right
lost
out with it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you picked that up for, what'd you say, $57,500?
$57,500, yeah.
What'd you put into it?
That one was a complete overhaul from electric to plumbing to furnaces, ACs. I want to say our budget was about $60,000 with that. Again, we did a lot of the work ourselves between hanging cabinets and countertops and flooring and what have you. But we ended up selling that one for, I can't entirely remember. I think it was just $225. And primarily the reason for that was it was not a legal two-family in the city of Grand Rapids. So we had been renting it kind of as a big property and just wasn't an ideal rental. And the people that bought it actually I think they've put another $100,000 into the house, making it converted back to a single family home. I drive by it about once a week just to kind of see what it looks like. And they've done an amazing job between probably a $50,000 exterior paint job and what have you. So it was time to let someone take it to the next level. But
yeah, and both of these were in Heritage Hills. So
Yeah.
talk about that, because that's a historic district.
it is, yeah.
And you're doing all kinds of renovations in a historic district. So what
Yep.
were some of the issues that you had to handle?
I would say with the first duplex, we really didn't have any issues with historic preservation, because as long as you're not making any changes to the exterior of the home, there really are no guidelines from an historic perspective. On the one on Union that we had, there was a porch that needed to be redone. And unfortunately, once you start doing construction on something more than 50% of it, then you have to go back to planning and presenting designs, and they need to be adjusted. And, there's a specific, look that they're trying to achieve, and they want you to bring it back to as historically accurate as possible. So,
And how'd that process go for you?
it was a challenge. It was, you submit drawings, you submit footprints, they come out and inspect, you take pictures. They never really care about colors or anything like that. Really, it's all about the design and if there's exterior changes. So, they're really great to work with, honestly. I mean, you submit the applications, they have further questions. They have a staff that can you walk you through it. And ultimately, they want you to succeed. For us, it was just a daunting project.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com. You're probably paying an architect or someone to design that for you. And
It's not a cheap adventure. I would say if you're going to venture into the hill and have any huge exteriors that you need to do, make sure you understand the process.
yeah, I talked to the people at the Historic Preservation Committee.
Yep.
You've obviously done some other investing. You got into
Yeah.
single families.
We
When
did.
and what?
So we ended up, we have 4 children now, but right after, I think our second was a little over a year old, we kind of felt a little cramped in a 2-bedroom apartment, and there ended up being a HUD house for sale just outside of the Hill that we ended up picking up for $36,000 and moved the family into there and started rehabbing that property. Kept the duplexes at the time and was cash flowing those really nicely. And, new furnace, water heater, a lot of love, and lived there for a couple years and brought my 3rd child home from the hospital to that house. And again, started feeling a little cramped and decided to look for another property and sold that one in 24 hours for $115,000.
And what'd you pick it up for?
36,
36.
with probably 20-30 into it.
Wow. So you're making a nice profit all along the way. Huh?
Yeah. It was a good down payment on our current home. And our current home actually has a mother-in-law suite. So we got into doing Airbnb. Became a licensed
okay.
Airbnb. And so, because we felt a little investment poor at that point, because we had moved away from a lot of the stuff in the city and have been working Airbnb. We've since picked up a vacation rental in Newaygo. It's the Muskegon River Lodge, which is a 16-person log cabin on 13 acres, about an hour from here. And we've been doing Airbnb and vacation rental with that, expanding to some special events, as well as some corporate and retreat type events as well. And we also picked up last fall our first single family in Muskegon.
Okay. So so obviously you're in Muskegon now as well as
Yep.
Grand
So I do
Rapids.
management in Muskegon. I have a lot of my clients that have picked up properties in Muskegon in the past 18 months. And I'm like, well, maybe it's time for me to have one up there too. And that's what we did. So.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a lot of things. I want to kind of talk about
Sure.
each one. You bought a house with a mother-in-law suite. So what, separate entrance, separate bedroom, bathroom, kitchen,
Yep.
kitchenette area?
Yeah, we had to do a minor renovation only for our preferences to keep it 100% private. But they have their own access, their own kitchen, own bathroom. They even have their own laundry,
And
living space.
Did you buy it with the Airbnb model in mind?
We did. Because we had been so spoiled with our purchases in the past, we just really couldn't see having to pay our mortgage all by ourselves, So this house, when it came on the market, was just perfect for our plans at the time. And
So how's that? Tell me how that works out then. I mean, how often is it rented, and
Yeah.
what kind of income are you making off of it?
yeah, so every month we're rented about 80% of the month. I would say at least 20 nights out of the month. We've also had people that have stayed with us for 2-3 months at a time, as they've either transitioned to a new job here in Grand Rapids, or maybe they're in between homes because they've sold and their house isn't ready yet. We've had that happen before. We've had a lot of traveling business people stay with us for 2-3 weeks at a time. So it's quite a busy place. Sometimes we get 2-3 nights at a time, but it's not infrequent that we have a good chunk of time for either visiting family members that live close. And I would say we make about $800 to $1,000 a month on just Airbnb income alone.
That's great.
Yeah.
So that's got to take a good chunk out of your mortgage that you're paying every
Yeah,
month.
it helps quite a bit.
Is that what inspired you then to go into Muskegon and buy this lodge that you purchased?
To some degree, yeah. Part of our interest in the lodge when we saw it was we were already looking for some sort of more commercially bent investment, just to kind of expand our skill set and our interest. And our hope and goal was we had some criteria. If we were going to do it, we wanted something that had water, something within an hour of Grand Rapids, for ease of maintenance and accessibility for us to get there. Something needed to be done. And my husband's family actually have property in the Newaygo area too, so it was an area I was familiar with. So that was very.
Oh, that's right. It's in Newaygo.
Yep.
I thought you had said it was in Muskegon.
No, it's on the Muskegon River. Sorry.
Okay, that's where I got the Muskegon
Yep.
part. Okay, so it's
Yep.
in Newaygo.
It's in Newaygo.
Gotcha.
Yep. So we were familiar with the area, which helped a lot. And we found the property kind of happenstance, just doing some searching online, and ran the numbers, and we had some experience with Airbnb and felt we could make a go of it. So
How's that working out?
It's awesome. We've had so far so good. We have had a ton of bookings. We have a lot to learn yet. Like I said, we're working on expanding into special events and corporate retreats and hopefully some church retreats to fill in some of the time. But we're busy. We're very booked.
So you have some acreage there and a space for people to enjoy themselves? Yep.
So the property is actually on 13 acres. There's a hot tub, a sauna on site. The 3-car garage has been converted partially into a game room. It's got flat screen TV, the pool table, card table. It's become very popular for like bachelor parties and kind of, family reunion type events where people need some activities to do. And it's quiet, it's wooded. If they want to throw a boat in down at the public launch down the way, they could. And yeah, it's a great place to be.
Wow. And how long have you had it?
So we officially have owned it since the beginning of January.
So you just acquired it?
Yep.
Because we're toward the end of February right now.
We officially just did, but we are, since starting it up in January and kind of putting, the pedal to the metal as far as bookings, and primarily through Airbnb, we are basically booked weekends at least from April through August.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Wow. So, that's really hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Was it being operated as an Airbnb?
They weren't using Airbnb before. They were using VRBO. Mm-hmm. It was previously owned by a fishing charter company and some of their business partners. So they were using it as an Orvis endorsed fly fishing lodge and bringing people in and staying there. So we're still partnering with, some fishing charter people up there to continue to provide that service for them.
Yeah, it's interesting because it sounds like you were looking to make a real estate investment in looking for this property. But what you ended up purchasing was a business, an operating business, right? That was already, it sounds like it was already doing quite well.
Yeah, it was a nice, at least so far, has been a nice piece of diversification for us from our experiences.
How do you perceive the difference then between owning real estate investments and what is, I guess in a way it's a real estate investment, but it's really a business? Have you had to make any mind shifts or
that has remained to be seen. However, there's always differences when we're operating, more of a business aspect. Then you're talking about reviews, you're talking about public opinion, you're talking about, constant exposure, as opposed to like a single rental property or duplexes of where you plan for a turnover, once a year or once every couple years. This is more of a constant planning to keep things running like a well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm.
And so how do you stay on top of all this? Because you've accomplished so much in 10 years. From graduating in 2008, it's 2019 now. Not to mention the 4 kids, but you started a real estate investment business. You've started a vacation rental business. You've started, of course, your management and brokerage business. And you're in so many different locations: Muskegon, Newaygo, Grand Rapids. How do you handle all that?
A lot of it's trying to achieve balance and taking the help when I can get it. We've been very fortunate that we have quite a lot of help with our kids, and I'm able to, if they, I can go pick up my son, from school every day, and not have that effect. I make my own schedule, so it's really just about my husband and I working together as a team, and setting some goals and just chipping them away at them. You go to work every day and you make that schedule for yourself, and you just do the best you can. Now,
do you have employees or people on your team who can, help with in Newaygo take care of cleaning up after the bachelorette party or whatever?
Yeah, we do. So we have a full-time cleaning person that handles all of our rental properties and Newaygo, and she's awesome. She's been able to handle that without issue. She's brought on so much, and she does a really good job with that. So that's taken care of. As far as like Newaygo, I primarily handle the bookings and the customer service aspect of it. And as far as like Rockfinch and the office, I have my awesome assistant Ted, who handles a lot of the kind of day-to-day, tenant questions, helps with the work orders, as they come in, as well as, scheduling showings and keeping us on task. So he's been a big help.
And you have vendors helping you with maintenance and
Yep, we have
those types of issues?
relationships that we've built over the past 10 years that are just a text away to handle a broken fridge or a leaky pipe or an electrical outlet that needs to be taken care of. So anything from licensed electricians to handymen, we've got lined up and kind of in our pocket. So that makes a difference.
So what do you see as your sweet spot or your niche when it comes to managing other people's properties?
I think our niche is, someone who is kind of big picture oriented too, like someone that appreciates, a good return and wants that return, but also understands that, the tenant happiness plays into a huge part of that. So I think someone that kind of appreciates our vision for the industry is a good partner.
Great. And before we wrap it up, I have to ask you about Muskegon. You decided to go out there, buy a single family. What's your perception of Muskegon, and how are you doing on that first property that you acquired?
We're doing awesome. We were really fortunate enough to pick up a property that had a long-term tenant in it who's been very easy to deal with. We've done some other wholesaling up in the area too, and that's gone really well. We've got people that we work with up there that are really helping guide me, help kind of took me by the hand a little bit. So Jeremy Garcia is one of those guys who just was really willing to kind of pour out his knowledge of the area, which has been awesome because
Jeremy's been a guest on the show.
Yeah,
and friend of the RPOA.
Yeah, fantastic guy. There's a lot of people up there that don't want to share their knowledge of the area, and it's very reciprocal for us. If he needs something done in Grand Rapids, market analysis or proper help with the property, like I'm totally there for him. And if I need an opinion on an area or can you drive by this house because it's a 45-minute drive for me to check on something, he's always been there for me. So like I said, I think this business is so relationship based. It's so about the people that you have in your pocket, if you will, that kind of make a difference.
Well, Chelsea, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and it's very impressive because you've got your business that you started, but you've got multiple businesses. I mean, you've got your own investments, you've got your vacation rentals. It's been a really, really fun conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's higinvestor.com. And you can also ask questions and join us on Facebook by going to RPOA, Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.